This is Seasons of Discontent with your hosts Rick Snyder and Matt Combs on the Hogstein Network.
Welcome to Seasons of Discontent, Season 7, Episode 41, and the last episode of Season 7. So make sure we'll talk slower, you savor this. And it's brought to you by Rick Snyder's Washington on social media, and I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
And we're back discussing all things Washington sports and life as part of the mighty Hogstein Network on audio and here on YouTube on video. Okay, so kind of touched on it earlier this week. Ron Rivera is not doing anything with his coaching changes until he talks to Dan Snyder, I would think, on Monday. And even then, Danny's halfway out the door. So he's probably just saying, do what you want. In the old days, Dan would have had vanilla ice cream on Scott Turner's car or something, but he's been absent. He's got bigger things to count, like money. So I think it's Ron's decision on all of that. I think Jack Del Rio's fine. Del Rio said the other day he fully expects to be back. He's a weird guy to interview. He doesn't want to say anything because dust up cost him how much money.
Right.
So, I don't blame him there on things. But overall, I think he's done a good job too. Ron, no, I didn't like as much as Ron did. When I gave out grades, I gave his coaching staff a D. I thought they were outcoached too often. Yep. They counterpunch very well. They let down some. I know the locker room loves Ron. This is the weirdest thing. People want a new coach, but they like Ron. That's a rare thing when that happens on this. So I don't expect any changes.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we talked about last week. I mean, Ron, the football coach, may not be that good as far as like X's and O's go, but Ron, the football coach, the leader of men, the mentor, is very respected in the NFL. I don't expect any changes until this guy behind me takes over, or Byron Allen. I went with the front runner of Bezos behind me today, but yeah, I don't see any changes. I think Scott needs to rework his offense. It gets a little too Norvy. It gets a little too. It's very scripted, It's like, and once that script is either blown up or they're behind or whatever, it's not working. One play that I want them to throw in the garbage is the jet sweep by either a tight end or Curtis Samuel. That play has been sniffed out since week 3. It is time to get rid of that play. Look, and with Hal, if Hal is starter next year, I think that gives them a better opportunity to utilize his arm. We saw it with Terry McLaurin. That was a beautiful spot-on play down the sideline to Terry. Jahan, you can drop it off to him 10 yards down the field, and he's going to take it 30 yards in, for down the field. Yak. I think you have to utilize your game plan or center your game plan around a Sam Howell if he's going to play. So I don't expect any changes.
So the fans were howling in the stands after big plays by Sam. Gee, if they'd only been, say, Red Wolves, well, that would have really played into it, wouldn't have? That was just funny. All right, free agency goals. Now it's 2 months till free agency starts in the middle of March, but we won't be around as much lately. To me, the free agency goals, you got to find yourself an offensive interior lineman. I don't care which one it is, but it's got to be one of them, and maybe get another one in the draft. But you got to do better than Norwell and Trey Turner. I mean, those were 3 weeks after free agency started, they took them or something. They were bargain guys. And you got what you got, bargains. So I need an interior lineman. Would like to see a corner that they won't get a day one corner, too expensive. Mm-hmm. I'd be interested to see if they even sign a kicker out there. You got to get one eventually on there. But some of the stuff, I think you leave more for the draft.
Yeah, and that was, I put out just a quick list on Sunday after the game as far as needs in the offseason. It was more of a joke saying, hey, we don't need a quarterback now. But yes, I think you have to go offensive lineman. Bleacher Report has them taking Paris Johnson Jr. out of Ohio State, who is, I think, rated either 1 or 2 as far as offensive linemen go in this year's draft. they have to go offensive linemen in the draft. You've seen what offensive linemen drafted in the first round have become. We had one. He's in San Francisco. But anyway, yeah, you have to go linebacker. Look, Khaleke Hudson played well on Sunday, but he's not a starter. Jamin Davis took a step forward this year. Do you bring back a Holcomb? There's questions as far as free agency goes. But you need to upgrade offensive line, linebacker, corner, kicker. I think you're pretty set at safety and obviously defensive line and your skill positions. I think you're good. You get those four positions locked down, and tight end. I would look at tight end as well. You lock down those positions, I think you have a pretty good chance next year.
As long as we're talking about Jamin Davis, he was the leading tackler for this team, 104 tackles, 3 sacks. Who is number 2? I didn't get this one right.
I would say Kendall Fuller.
Ooh, no. The Forest, 88 tackles, 4 interceptions. He had himself quite a year.
Yeah, Forrest earned himself some money.
Yeah, Curl was third at 83, and he missed 5 games on there. So I just thought, man, Forrest really did show up this year.
Yeah.
After all that.
Obviously, we all remember the big plays. We remember the interceptions, but and that's the thing. Jamin Davis didn't stand out to you as like memorable moments this year, but you look at it, Rick, every time that there was a tackle or a scrum, 52 was in there. And that's what you need. And look, was he an overdraft? Yes, I safely can say that now. But it's also going to be hard to rush the quarterback on this team with that defensive line. I mean, I do think that they're going to find a way to bring back Deron Payne. I have heard rumors that Atlanta is ready to throw him a massive bag of money. We'll see if the Commanders can match it financially. But yeah, I mean, you've got a solid rotational depth at defensive line. If you keep Payne, you can bring back Mathis off of IR. Once he's healed up, you hopefully can hang on to a guy like Ridgeway. You've got good rotational pieces for that defensive line. But I think you need to keep that Alabama wall together. But yeah, add linebackers, add corners, add a tight end, add offensive line. I think you have a pretty solid chance next year.
Yeah, I would say I'd like to see 2 offensive linemen in the first 3.
Sure.
However, on that,
I think you need 2 guards and a right tackle.
Yeah. All right. Going to the 2023 opponents, which you have a list of, besides the divisional teams, what's the road games?
Road games are at LA Rams, at the Patriots, at the Jets, at the Seahawks, and then at Atlanta and at Denver.
The people always like to figure out a vacation destination on these games. I mean, LA is the natural one. Seattle's a really cool town that you don't usually visit Seattle because you have to go to Seattle to see Seattle. You don't catch it on the way to anything. I like that, but it's far. I'll say that about it. But if you want to go, Seattle's a really cool one. Great stadium experience there. The Jets, you can go catch the train up or something on there. But and then the home teams, who are they playing at home this time?
Arizona, San Francisco, Miami, Buffalo, and Chicago.
I mean, you're playing San Francisco and Buffalo, who could both be in the Super Bowl, in my opinion. Ooh, okay, that's tough. But other than that, they got some last place schedule breaks on there. So you like to see some new teams coming around. I don't want to see Cleveland for a while, that kind of thing, or Green Bay even. I don't know. It's an interesting schedule. I'll put them down for 9-8. And they finished at 8-1. That was their first non-losing year.
I was gonna say Ron finally won over 7 games this year.
Yeah, that was their best year since 2016. 6 years. Who knew? Well, there. So we saved the bulk of the time for the last one. We're actually gonna take a break until we feel like coming back, which could be, who knows? They could sell the team next week, and we'll be back next week.
Yeah, that's what I was. You and I had talked about it. I would safely assume that once a new ownership group has been named, we'll have an emergency pod like we did when it was a name that, or when it was broke that he was selling the team. And obviously we'll be back around draft time and we'll be back around free agency time for reactions.
Yeah. But the team sale, well, if Dan Snyder not coming to the last 2 games kind of says something to me. Jack Cook did not come to the last game at RFK. before he died because he was so sick he couldn't make it. And he actually called Charlie Casserly at the stadium, and Charlie drove out to Middleburg and watched the game with him.
Oh.
And because he didn't want Cook watching alone.
Right.
So that was kind of strange. So now Snyder's done the same thing. Maybe on his tenure, he's applied for British citizenship. I'm sure he's met a few friends over in the Mediterranean on his yacht. He wants to hang out in London, where a lot of the European rich do. Does he buy a soccer team or something? I don't care. I don't care where you go. Just leave now. I mean, you didn't have to leave the city, but I thought, Redskins owners in the past, George Preston Marshall, died. So then they sold the team. Cook died. Then they sold the team. Edward Bennett Williams really didn't own the team. He just ran it for a number of years. He was gone. So they never really had an owner in absentia. It's kind of like the second pope kind of thing, I mean, it never happens. And it would be kind of weird to have Snyder still in town, maybe popping off now and then, like Trump staying in Washington or something. So I can see why he's leaving. Maybe some new opportunities out there for all that money.
I mean, here's the thing. Dan Snyder, excuse me, if he was selling the team for, some whatever reason, but he's selling the team as a success, yeah, he could stay around. He would never pay for a meal or a haircut in his town again. But at the end of the day, he's public enemy number one. He has ruined this franchise for the past 20 years. He is not going to, he can't go anywhere in this city without someone saying something to him.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's public enemy number one in a bad, as far as this franchise goes, he is public enemy number one. Yeah, it's going to be weird. I think the fact that, I'll be honest with you, Rick, I never thought this day would come. I was 19, 20 years old when he bought this team. I was fully ingratiated in this team. I'm 40 years old and now Dan is selling the team, and I do think it speaks volume because he was not at the game against the Cowboys. His best friend Jerry Jones was there. He was shown in the box. He's there. Dan and Jerry usually always sit together in the owner's box and pal around together for Cowboys Redskins or Cowboys Washington football team Commanders. Those two have been attached at the hip since he bought this team. It speaks volumes that he was not there Sunday for a game against the Cowboys.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a really weird deal, but this was going to be my retirement last one. I was really going to retire because I just tired of all this nonsense, and I'm old enough and I don't have to work anymore if I want to. So I was ready to go. And then when they announced where I was selling, I thought, okay. So I left yesterday kind of encouraged to see what the future brings, at least for another year covering the team, maybe more. I can't decide yet. But I'll just keep going for a little while. Otherwise, I was going to go, and I'm gone. Screw ya. See ya. But
well, I'm going to need you to do something since you're not retiring. I need you to butter this man up. I need free Amazon Prime. I want our podcast on Amazon Music. We can be the official podcast of the Washington Red Wolves or the Washington Primes or whatever the hell he's going to rename the team to. But I mainly need that free Amazon Prime as many times as I come home and there's 3 or 4 packages from Amazon on my front porch. I'm gonna need a little help here, Jeff.
Yeah, I have a lot of people come up to me now, and since this TV stuff goes on so much, that say, man, you should go, they should hire you as the team historian and all. I don't really want to do that. I never would work for Dan Snyder. But if Jeff Bezos people want to call me, I'll consider a consulting job. Just when you work full-time for a team, you work 60, 80 hours a week. And I did that for a lot of years. So that's why we're even shutting down the pod for a little while, take the break. So we're out of here. We'll be back sometime soon when you hear us in the wind. I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt. Thanks, everybody, for listening this year.
Yeah. See you later.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Seasons of Discontent on the Hogstye Network.